Good morning, guys. That's right. The Supreme Court delivering a significant victory to the Trump administration. So in a 5-4 decision, the High Court ruled to permit the use of the 1798 Alien Enemies Act to deport alleged Venezuelan gang members. So President Trump responding to this saying, quote, the Supreme Court has upheld the rule of law in our nation by allowing a president, whoever that may be, to be able to secure our borders and protect our families and our country itself. A great day for justice in America. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem also reacting. Listen.
Today is a bad day to be a terrorist in the United States of America. Today, the Supreme Court came out with a decision that reaffirmed President Trump was correct in using his authority on using the Alien Enemies Act to deport terrorists out of this country.
U.S. District Judge James Boasberg initially halted the deportations, and this Supreme Court ruling has reversed that decision at this point. So what we see here is that the U.S. District Judge James Boasberg initially halted those deportations as 2 flights carrying 238 men was en route to El Salvador. The move by the Supreme Court could prevent Boasberg from holding the administration in contempt, a move he had been signaling he was prepared to take. Attorney General Pam Bondi says it is just a matter of safety. Quote, an activist judge in Washington, D.C. does not have the jurisdiction to seize control of President Trump's authority to conduct foreign policy and keep the American people safe. House Speaker Mike Johnson says Congress will act on judicial overreach. Listen.
Activist judges, liberal judges with a political bent, it's a threat to the rule of law, to our entire system of justice. We're delighted with the Supreme Court ruling. We're going to move on it in Congress as well. So this week, Sean, we'll be putting on the floor Congressman Darrell Iss's bill, the No Rogue Rulings Act. And what this is going to do is keep federal district court judges in their constitutional lane.
The Supreme Court also temporarily paused a lower court's decision, and that lower court's decision was regarding the DOJ's return of a Salvadorian man who was mistakenly deported, giving them more time to consider the matter. Now, the House is set to vote today on the No Rogue Rulings Act to limit the authority of district courts' ability to block Trump policies.
Got any weapons I can use on the bad orange man?
These are not the rocket launchers you are looking for.
I will just have to find something else.
Shouldn't be laughing at that. It's just the ear bandage got me. It's President Trump as a Jedi Master with the ear bandage. That's what sent me, ladies and gentlemen. And today's show will send you. We are going to read through a bombshell, newly unsealed federal filing against President Trump's assassin, who's currently sitting in a Florida jail cell. And you'll be shocked to learn that our intel agencies and Ukraine knew all about the assassination attempt against President Trump and, well, maybe even helped. This is a very dangerous game to be playing for Ukraine and for the cutouts that run Ukraine, namely our own CIA. We're going to dive into all of it today with a number of experts. We're very excited about it. And we're very excited about the current market roar. Absolutely ripping this morning as President Trump is announcing that virtually every country on earth is groveling to kiss the ring because President Trump, who's a self-made billionaire, might know a little bit more about the economy than the so-called experts. Let's see, which experts are they now? They were the Russiagate experts, then they turned into the COVID experts, and the vaccine experts, and the Black Lives Matter experts. Where are they at? They were egg price experts and inflation experts, and oh, now they're tariff experts. That's right. They've been wrong for 30 years. These are the same people that told you there were WMDs in Iraq. These are the exact same people that told you that global warming was going to kill us in 12 years, 20 years ago, that there'd be no more polar ice caps. They're frauds. They're corrupt. Don't listen to them. And we have incredible news for you this morning on all of it. Congressman Tim Burchett joining the program. Oh, you're going to love this one. Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis will be on the show, going deep into the darkness of Ukraine and what it means that they had a hand in President Trump's assassination attempt. Kyle Bass, also an expert on U.S.-Sino relations, will be joining us as well to talk about the collapse of China and what's to come. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. American financing is who I trust, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to getting up and getting on the right financial footing. There's a lot of people who are talking about finances today. We're going to lead the show off with showing you a little bit about what's happening in the market. And what we've been saying for a very long time is that the demons must be exorcised out of the economy. Now, where did I hear that? I heard that at Mar-a-Lago from one of Trump's top economic advisors, who's talking about what needs to happen is we need to get back to the real economy, not the fake economy that was created by Joe Biden, printing money, causing inflation, and fake government numbers, the real economy. And that's what's happening right now. So there's going to be ups and downs. There certainly have been some downs, a lot of inflation. It made, paying your debts very unaffordable, quite frankly, and a lot of people were stressed out over the last couple of years. Skyrocketing credit card debt and personal debt is what's happening in America. It's not good on a country level for like our national debt, but also on a personal level. If you're a homeowner and you don't have to face uncertainty alone, my friends at American Financing can help you take control. They can help you access equity in your home and help you pay down high-interest credit card debt, giving you peace of mind and real savings. On average, people just like you are saving $800 a month. So please make sure that you call American Financing today. You can close your loan in as little as 10 days, and you can get started on the right foot for the golden era. Call American Financing now. It costs you nothing to get started, and it can delay your mortgage payments, giving you a cushion in uncertain times. 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219. AmericanFinancing.net/Benny. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Trump, virtually every single country wants to negotiate as reciprocal tariffs loom. Oh, wow. Would you look at that? It's almost like President Trump working with a team of financial geniuses who are all self-made billionaires, and then also concurrently working with the guy who worked with George Soros, and what do we talk about with Bill Maher, right? Take your enemy's best players off the field. In fact, turn your enemy's best players against you. It's a tactic. Why'd Trump have dinner with Bill Maher? Why'd Trump have dinner with Bill Maher? It's genius. Dude, Bill Maher is kissing Trump's ass now. We can play you some clips if we get a chance later in the show. Bill Maher says he loves Trump now. This is the guy who's calling Trump Hitler. He had one dinner at the White House. Bill Maher actually brought, I have a source at the dinner, Bill Maher brought a list of printed out expletives and insults that Donald Trump has used to slander him. And President Trump and Bill Maher had a big laugh about it, and they both signed it. And now Bill Maher is straight up defending Donald Trump. This is Donald Trump's absolute genius, stealing from his enemies. It's wartime tactics. You don't win a war by just standing still. You must advance. You must take from your enemy. You must run over their ramparts. You must take their greatest weapons and use them against them if you can. Kind of incredible. We're going to talk in just a moment about how the weapons that we sent to Ukraine were nearly used against President Trump, but I'm getting ahead of myself. President Trump is reinforcing the strength of this country, this economy, and this dollar, this market, with a guy named Scott Bessent, who actually is probably the world's top risk advisor on how to collapse markets, how to destroy countries. Scott Bessent is somebody who worked with George Soros to collapse the British pound, bet against the British market because they had tell me if this sounds familiar, an overinflated stock market, open borders, a obese healthcare system, a welfare system and healthcare system, bills they can't afford, okay, in England, in London, in the UK, and an overvalued currency. Tell me, and a stock market that wasn't grounded in reality. Tell me, does that sound familiar to you? Does it sound like America's vulnerable? Trump picked this man to reinforce and to rid us of our vulnerabilities, and it's great. We had a house that was on fire. We had a house that was being robbed. We had a house that was insecure, and President Trump is sitting in a rocking chair with a shotgun outside. The mosquito zapper going behind him right now. And he's saying you're not going to rob from us anymore. And he's also built a fence. And he's saying the neighbors and the people in the neighborhood, scumbags in the neighborhood, aren't going to rob from our home any longer. And also, we're going to do a little renegotiation on our mortgage for what this house costs. That's what President Trump is doing. It's great, and it's working, ladies and gentlemen. I do want to address the panic publicans using this old clip of Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett saying, you know what, maybe there are some people, because there's a lot of people that are like freaked out over the last couple days, lost their minds, right? I don't know any of them. Maybe it is not true. I don't know a single Trump supporter that said, I don't like what Trump's doing. I don't know a single one of them. I hung out with some older people this weekend, right? Like the people that apparently were like the remorseful Trump voters. I don't know any of those people. Maybe you do. I sure as hell don't. I can't really find anybody online. But those people, panicans, Donald Trump called them, panic publicans, I call them, tariff tards. These people were just looking for a reason to freak out. And they were, of course, fomented by the corporate press to freak out. I think that this is instructive. Here's Warren Buffett on who should own stocks and who shouldn't. Let's go.
A lot of investors are told, retail investors are told, that they should have a certain percent of their portfolio in bonds. Maybe they're told 60-40, maybe they're told 70-30 stocks to bonds. That's something that you should do, and that's the safe way of doing it. What are they missing?
Some people should not own stocks at all because they just get too upset with price fluctuations. If you're going to do dumb things because your stock goes down, you shouldn't own a stock at all. No, I mean,
what are dumb things? Selling a stock?
Yeah, selling a stock because it goes down. I mean, if you buy your house at $20,000 and somebody comes along the next day and says, I'll pay you 15, you don't sell it because the quote's 15. You look at the house or whatever it may be. But some people are not actually emotionally or psychologically fit to own stocks. But I think more of them would be if you get educated on what you're really buying, which is part of a business. And the longer you hold stocks, the less risky they become. Whereas the longer the maturity of a bond, the more risky it becomes.
Ladies and gentlemen, some people are just not emotionally stable enough to own stocks. I really enjoyed this last couple of days. I went viral for saying that there's more important things in life than money, and that's true. And I'll die on that statement. Actually, that's true. If you think, there's a lot of scriptures about this. If you think that money is the most important thing in your life, if money is the single most important thing and the number one motivator in your life, and it's not your children, it's not your country, it's not your homeland, if that's it, if it's just money, you're gonna live a shallow and really bad life. I would encourage you to actually take an assessment of your soul. But more importantly, if you are just looking for some reason to panic and to freak out because the stock market is off a couple of points from its historic high, then you are not emotionally fit to behave in adult society. This is ultimately what I'm trying to say here. Is you don't ever lose any money if you don't sell. People that are panic selling are losing everything. Go look at the last 8 stock market crashes. Seems like all of them happened in my lifetime. Why? The market returns and then goes higher in a 14-month tight circle, like a tight timeline. So people only lost money if they panic sold. President Trump this morning. I had a great call with the acting president of South Korea. We talked about a tremendous, unsustainable surplus tariffs, shipbuilding, large-scale purchasing of American gas, and joint venture in Alaska pipeline. They began military payments during my first term, billions of dollars. Sleepy Joe Biden, for unknown reasons, terminated that deal. With a shocker for all, in any event, we have the confines probability of a great deal for both countries. Their top team is on a plane heading to the U.S. right now. Things are looking good. And we are likewise dealing with many other countries, all of whom want to make a deal with the United States of America. Like South Korea, we are bringing up the subjects that are not covered by trade tariffs, getting them to negotiate. One-stop shopping is a beautiful and efficient process. China also wants to make a deal badly, but they don't know how to get it started. We're waiting for their call. It will happen. God bless the USA. Here's Scott Bessent, the dude who is an expert at risk assessment management, who's collapsed currencies and who's now working with President Trump to solve our currency and our nation, which was, of course, headed toward collapse. Here's what he had to say this morning.
You're starting to negotiate. How soon do you think we could see some deals be made?
Well, we have
one of the Vietnamese officials coming in this week. The Japanese are very eager to get over, and I think you're going to see a couple of big trading partners do deals very quickly.
Do you plan talks with China today?
Oh, okay. Well, it looks like everybody's coming to the table, and more importantly, the stock market this morning looks like this. This is like Green Lantern green, like Green Lantern and the Hulk had a child green. Again, we don't do this show like living or dying by the stock market. Here's a good example as to why. This is what the market did over the last 75 years, right? From 1952 through today. So there you go. There's your panic right there. That little red dip, that little red dot, that's your panic. And now that flipped completely green today. So it was all hoax. Black Monday was a hoax. Jim Cramer out saying that the market's going to crash 22%. That's a hoax. It's not real. And I'm sick of the hoaxers. I'm sick of this. People, they haven't been either around long enough or they haven't been paying attention. Please pop this up. Global warming experts became Russiagate experts. The Russiagate experts became COVID experts. The COVID experts became vaccine experts. The vaccine experts became systemic racism experts. The systemic racism experts became insurrection experts. The insurrection experts became inflation experts, and the inflation experts became egg price experts last month. And those egg price experts last month have now become tariff experts. And guess what? They were effing wrong. Again, they lied to you for power because they hate this country being strong and prosperous. And we should stop trusting them. At what point will you stop trusting the corrupt expert class frauds? We just want to see you miserable. There are, of course, now memes out this morning. President Trump looking at the stock market. Again, we don't live and die by this. There are more important things in life than the points in your portfolio. Okay? But it is a great indicator of the fraudulence of our expert class. And you know what? I'll stand on it. Waking up to the stock market, I didn't know stocks could do this in 2025. Whoa! Here's ALX. I was promised a recession. What's going on? Look at ALX. Look at that. Look at all of it. Look at what ALX owns in his portfolio. Jeez, ALX. Where's the fart coin? Where is it? Where is fart coin? Where's ALX coin? I thought ALX made ALX coin. I don't know. You have to ask him. You'll have to ask him. Maybe we'll do a whole show on the ALX meme coin saga. What a difference a day makes. From Charlie Kirk. There you go. Boom. The point of this is not to be like, because the stock market will go down. It will go up. It will go down. The point of this is not to be like, wow, now we're right. Ignore the stock market when it's down. Only look at the stock market when it's green. That's not it. It's to say that the expert class promised a 22% Black Monday collapse, and it didn't happen. So maybe it's time to stop trusting these frauds because it's the same frauds. They're always the same frauds. I'll always look for a Seinfeld reference. Okay? I love Seinfeld. I'll always look for the Seinfeld reference. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, that's the state of the economy. The sky is not falling. And maybe these self-made billionaires who have led incredibly successful lives in the private sector know what the F they're doing. And one final thing on this guy right here. One final thing on this guy. We'll pause this because it will flow very nicely into our next topic. The way that President Trump treated Zelensky. Donald Trump knows that he's dead if he loses. President Trump knows that the left, who are fetishizing Luigi Mangione for killing someone, who are openly, hey Alex, can you grab me that? I think Charlie shared yesterday, like how there's polling on the left and their allowance or permissiveness to assassinations, political assassinations. Can you grab me that data? Pretty sure it was on Charlie's timeline. President Trump already has 5 political assassinations attempts against his life. The reason I say 5, because we know verified, we know 4 verified. There it is. We know 4 verified. Just pop that up, will you? We know 4 that are verified. There was one like very creepy, there was a drone that was following him through Pennsylvania. This came out after the election. There was a drone that was following him through Pennsylvania, and they had to shoot it down. What was that drone going to do? We don't know. But I'm going to count that as an assassination attempt. Why the hell else would you be secretly following Trump with a drone? Huh? Okay. Here's the permissiveness of assassinations on the left. The left is being whipped into a violent frenzy. Any setback, whether it's an election or losing a court case, justifies maximally violent response and murder. Natural outgrowth of a left-wing protest culture tolerating violence and mayhem for years on end. It needs to be put down. Here's the polling that says, you know what? Like, is it permissible to attack Tesla leadership or a Tesla owner? Would it be correct to shoot Trump? There were a lot of people who were celebrating in the aftermath of President Trump getting hit in the head with a bullet. So you call that like a successful headshot in the sense that the bullet went through his head, right? His ear is part of his head. There's a lot of people that are celebrating. Just off the top of my head, this band called Tenacious D, led by Jack Black, his bandmate, his name's Kyle, said he wished for his birthday that the assassin didn't miss. That was his birthday wish. He said this live on stage and everybody cheered. These people are monsters. They're evil. I've done thousands of shows here. We've been live for tens of thousands of hours. Never once, not one single time. I've said plenty of dumb things on the show. We speak our mind. There's some things that I've said that are incorrect that I've had to go back and change. I'm a human being. One thing I will never have said is I'm wishing for the death of our political enemies or people that I don't like. I might want them to be locked up if they've been found guilty of a crime. I certainly want that. We advocate for that all the time. But I don't want somebody to go kill them. But the left does. And this is the polling proves it. The point about the economy tying into President Trump is nobody has more to lose than President Trump. Do you understand, if President Trump loses the midterms, if the economy crashes and we slide into a Great Depression, that President Trump will get impeached every day and then he'll lose in 2028, like the MAGA movement will lose in 2028. To my knowledge, he's not running again. Maybe he will. I don't know. I want to have Steve Bannon on to talk about it. What's the plan? President Trump, if he loses, they'll kill him again. They'll all the lawfare comes right back. They'll put him in prison. They'll have 20 new things to put him in prison for, and that President Trump will die in jail. That was the goal. That was the goal last time. They're going to restart that machine. They have the keys. The engine's warm. They just turn the thing on. They're ready to go with this. Nobody has more to lose on this gambit than Trump. And he's already seen how permissive the superstate is to his death. That this is potentially what they want. And so, understand that this is a man who's playing a game of very, very high stakes. And he doesn't want to lose. His loss isn't going to be a couple points in his retirement fund. His loss may potentially be his life. This is something that we've learned in an absolutely shocking bombshell drop from the DOJ. Let's jump on over to the actual document itself. I want to go through this thing because this is the Ryan Routh versus the United States of America and government's motion yesterday to admit potential evidence. So this is standard. But there was something very unique about this actual document. This document was actually brought directly to the judge. It's now been released. This wasn't even given to Ryan Routh's attorney. They wanted the judge to assess this document and to read through it and look through the government's evidence against Routh. And then look at what they have. Please, the full document. Okay, so look at the actual evidence itself and how this all happened. I want to start here on page 8. February 2024, Routh's messaging contact with post-assassination escape. Do you know that Ryan Routh was using the cartels? After he decided to kill Trump, he was going to use the cartels in order to escape the country. In February, Routh began an extensive WhatsApp conversation with a person Routh had saved in his phone as Ramiro, who lives in Mexico. Their exchanges in that month culminated in Routh seeking Ramiro's help, potentially smuggling an Afghan migrant family into the United States from Mexico. With the two discussing operations illegality, the migrants' lack of status, and the potential to need to bribe officials before the exchange concluded with Routh objecting to Ramiro's proposed price. This is going to be a treasure trove of understanding how the human smuggling operation worked. Why would you need to get an Afghan family into America exactly? How does Ryan Ralph understand all of these systems of criminal immigration and human smuggling? Well, because he was doing it in Ukraine. We know this. This is something that we knew previous to this bombshell filing by the government. We knew that Ryan Ralph was migrating people into Ukraine. Why was he doing that? To fight the Ukraine war. How could he possibly get ISIS fighters into Ukraine? Here's his damn website. You know, it's like we're the only shows that like really like ever catalog these kind of things. We're looking at this stuff. Stuff's wild. His website's still up, so who's paying this hosting fee? I'm glad it is, though, because he says, hey, yo, listen, I have the connections to get you no-look visas into Ukraine. What do we know about Ukraine based on new New York Times reporting? That Ukraine is just a total vassal state, fully operationalized via the CIA. Our own CIA has multiple headquarters, stations of operation in Ukraine, and they're literally running the war. Everything that's happening in this war is happening with permissibility from our own Central Intelligence Agency. This is well reported out. I'll pop the New York Times article up in a second. Okay, let's go grab that. Ryan Ralph understands human smuggling because, well, at the very least, we know that he did this in Ukraine. Ryan Ralph continually messaged that ISIS fighters from Iran, Afghanistan, that people from all around the world could come to Ukraine and could fight on behalf of Ukraine for a fee. And he would smuggle them in with no-look visas. What the hell is that going on there? Well, no-look visas, that means that he'd have to have some type of connection to the United States government in order to rubber stamp a visa to get into a war zone. Because you can't just do that. You can't just walk into a war zone. You can't go to Ukraine. I really encourage you not to try. You can't go to Ukraine right now. You can't go walk up to the front lines. I'm telling you, don't try. If you try, there's a real good chance that you're going to be like arrested as like either an enemy combatant, somebody who shouldn't be there, somebody who's there nefariously. But somehow Ryan Ralph was able to human smuggle, who knows, thousands of fighters into the front line. How would he be able to do that? Check this out. The Spy Wars, how the CIA secretly helped Ukraine fight Putin. This article goes in, if we don't have the time to read it right now, we have read it before on the show. This article goes into great detail as to how after the America-led coup in 2014, the CIA just seized control of all of Ukraine, and they've operationalized everything. Getting access to the battlefield and access to fighters is a CIA operation. Ryan Ralph was a go man. He's a frog man that was allowed to recruit fighters and was told that this was his job and his mission. If you want to go really far down the rabbit hole, you'll find that his CIA handlers were the first people to follow him on X. Now, his account's been deleted, but there are still screenshots of some very mysterious CIA agents, people that have CIA in their LinkedIn bio, that now they work for NGOs, right? But they were CIA operatives that were some of Ryan Ralph's first follows. These people didn't have big accounts. They aren't like big names. And they followed him back. So you make the connections here. But this is how Ryan Ralph learned about human smuggling. And there's something very scary that's it's a thread that we're going to pull here, but it's going to really like kind of shock you. And it certainly shocked us when we were reading this. Ryan Ralph isn't dumb. Please stop saying this guy's dumb. Let's go back to the filing, please. This guy really understood how to human smuggle, how to get these operations done. He was working at a high level to do it. He was working clearly with our own State Department to get no-look visas, rubber stamp visas, to get fighters to the front lines of a war zone. He had the connections to get it done. Stop saying, and I will certainly as well, but stop saying that he's a cuckoo pants guy. He's not. This guy was an operator. This guy's terrifying in his capacity. He was regularly in Ukraine. He was regularly photographed on the front lines himself in full military gear, tactical gear. And it looks like he was now working with the Ukrainian military to get some of that tactical gear sent back home so he could kill Trump with it. Let's continue to read. Ryan Ralph is not dumb. This is my major takeaway. Ryan Ralph's not dumb. Ryan Ralph's incredibly connected and was operating at a very sophisticated and high level to kill Trump with the help of whom? So he's trying to human smuggle Afghanis into America through the southern border. He's working directly with the cartel. to smuggle these people in. This is the result of Joe Biden's open borders. Did Joe Biden want this to happen? Did he want some Afghan migrants? Did he want Afghan militants to go kill Trump? Were they supposed to be there to help Ralph? Were they creating a kill box for Donald Trump? Yes, they were. The answer is yes, of course they were. There were supposed to be probably 7 different people all around the peripheral of the golf course that day. Get me the map of the golf course, please, with the schematic with Ralph. There's supposed to be like a bunch. You're supposed to create a kill box. This is what was supposed to happen in Butler. They created a kill box for Trump, where Trump can't escape. Trump's sitting there. Somebody up on a high elevation. They were able to create a kill box for Trump. This is what they were going to do. Ralph was going to bring in Afghan fighters who worked with him in Ukraine. These are terrorists. They were going to smuggle them through the southern border. It's incredible. This filing is bone-chilling. And then they were going to kill Trump. So here's where Ralph was. You can see him right there. That's where he was positioned. He was going to kill Trump right there. 150-yard shot. Man, that's nothing. 150-foot shot. Correction. He could have killed Trump, though, at any of those locations. That's 700 feet. That's 400 feet. 150 feet. Longest successful sniper round was over 3,000 feet. Do you understand? These are easy shots for anybody who's trained. Ryan Ralph wanted to work with the cartels to escape after he'd killed Trump. This was the goal. The goal was to get out after murdering Trump and use the cartels to smuggle himself out of the country. Ralph intentionally sought a professional smuggler who specialized in clandestine migrant crossings, including bribery of officials. And they have all of his chats. Really, truly remarkable. Do you know they had an IED on him? Components of destructive device of ammunition box that Ralph delivered. Third, this court should admit evidence of an improvised destructive device components and a 50 caliber ammunition. IED. Where have I heard that before? Hold on. Wait a second. This is interesting. You know, I've never actually heard that Ryan Ralph had a bunch of IEDs. Where did I hear that before? Oh, shit. You know, I remember this guy named Matthew Thomas Crooks that also had a bunch of like improvised explosive devices. Even though he's like some zit-faced, gangly goof troop who looks like he like doesn't have the strength to unload the dishwasher. Somehow this guy was able to create 3 IEDs that were operable, that were in his vehicle. The goal in Butler was to detonate the IEDs to distract everybody away from, the stage, and then he gets Trump. That was the goal. Now, to our knowledge, none of those devices detonated correctly, but that was the goal. Create a diversion, kill Trump. And now we find out that Ryan Ralph followed the exact same path. Wow, the chances! Really something here. Let's go ahead and read here. 50 caliber ammunition recovered from the box containing Ralph's Dear World letter and his burner phones. Do you know what the Dear World letter is from Ralph? Him saying that he will gladly offer $150,000 for anyone who can kill Trump. He knew he might not be successful, so he left that letter with the knowledge that it would immediately be blasted out there to the media, which is one of the first things that happened. The first thing we learned about Ryan Ralph was that he had a bunch of money, and anybody who wanted to kill Trump can get really rich doing it. That was the first thing they blasted out. It's almost like it was all planned in case he wasn't successful. All of his burner phones, his letters, all of which proves Ralph's intent to kill and possess a firearm as a convicted felon. On top of the recovery of the box, the United States will be presenting expert testimony in the box's destructive device components, including a barrel, breech, spring-loaded firing mechanism. Large caliber ammunition was designed to construct a device that would fire the ammunition with deadly effect. Coupled with the evidence, the United States will present a manually titled Improvised Explosives, How to Make Your Own, which was recovered from a nearby storage trailer on Ralph's place of business, as well as shotgun shells, a Ruger pistol from the trailer. This court should admit that this evidence is intrinsic of Ralph's intent to assassinate President Trump on 2 respects. First, possessing the materials and ammunition that would be constructed to breach the barrel and a lethal device, coupled with the instruction manual for demonstrating his intent in a homemade weapons accessory and anti-ballistics armor minimum proof of his comfort with causing death to other human beings, and there is other purpose for such items. Goes directly with the intention to kill. Second, the evidence is also quite literally inexorably intertwined with the box containing the Dear World letter, as it's Routh's prior trips to Florida, because it drives home the deadly intent of giving further context to other facts. The 50 caliber ammunition, in particular, explains Routh's later attempts in late August to obtain a 50 caliber sniper rifle that would have been able to use the ammunition. The ammunition in Routh's storage trailer further explains the box contents, which the manual showing how to make an improvised explosive device and other ammunition, constituting further circumstantial evidence of the box showing Routh's intent and purpose to use the bullets to cause harm. Now we get to the actual meat of this filing. All of this stuff is fascinating. It is a 21-page filing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what's going viral as of this morning. Ryan Routh hit up the Ukrainian military to give them weapons that could kill Trump on a golf course or shoot his plane down. Oh, yeah. Remember how we heard whispers about how they were really ramping up security around Trump's plane? Trump's plane had like military escorts. There were some rumors of a decoy plane that flew always with President Trump, wherever he was flying. I wonder why we got that news cycle. Well, here we go. August 2024, attempt to purchase anti-aircraft weapons. This court should admit Routh's 2024 attempt to acquire anti-aircraft weapons as direct evidence of his assassination attempt. That month, Routh sought to purchase the devices online from an associate that Routh believed to be a Ukrainian with access to military weapons. The two had discussed the July 2024 attempt to assassinate President Trump that occurred in Pennsylvania, with Routh writing, "I wish," via encrypted messaging app, saying, "I wish that President Trump had been killed." The two began discussing Routh's purchase of a weapon in August. To that end, Routh told his associate, "Send me an RPG, rocket-propelled grenade, or a Stinger missile, that I will see what I can do. Trump is not good for Ukraine," which led to the two discussing Routh's purchasing options, with Routh asking about the price and whether the associate could ship it to me, before then explaining his intent. "I need equipment so that Trump cannot get elected." The two then exchanged messages about the price and logistics that included Routh writing, "Going to a local store for such items is impossible. However, you lose these items on a daily basis. One missing would not go noticed. Do you think Trump will be good for Ukraine?" The two continued to discuss the possibility of Routh securing a rocket or a missile launcher, with Routh sending the associate an image of President Trump's plane, writing, "Trump's plane. He gets on and off daily." Was this an actual Ukraine? I mean, listen, okay, Ryan Routh knows people in Ukraine. He knows Ukrainian fighters. He knows the Ukrainian military. He's been to Ukraine a bunch of times. Nobody knows how he got there. Nobody knows how he could afford to do it. Nobody knows who was rubber stamping the visas. It was clearly our State Department in coordination with our CIA. They were running Routh. This wasn't an undercover. Routh was communicating with the Ukrainian military. Routh was asking about arms smuggling, which the Ukrainian military does, to war zones. This is how they make a profit. This is how these guys, all these generals get rich and then retire in the Balkans on the Adriatic Sea, or buy platinum mines in Africa. They sell the weapons we send them. Ryan Routh knows this, and he wanted to buy them through the cartels and smuggle in fighters to kill President Trump. This is the biggest bombshell document in the world right now, and the entire planet should be talking about it. I am blown away. That is virtually just our show that is taking this kind of stuff seriously. This rips open the underbelly of exactly what this operation in Ukraine was. Give us guns and more money now. Otherwise, we will use the guns you've already given us to kill you. Do you understand? That was what was on the table. This is what Ryan Routh was trying to buy. And ladies and gentlemen, I think there are a lot of questions that need answered. Who is handling Ryan Ralph? Why did they continue to let President Trump golf and fly on this plane when they knew a guy was trying to get a missile to shoot the plane out of the sky and kill President Trump? Why did Ryan Ralph get this close to President Trump? Here's the map again. Ryan Ralph was within feet of Donald Trump. How'd that happen exactly? And I think the most important question, who in our federal government knew about Ryan Ralph? Who knew that this was happening? I'm well aware that the federal government can go and spy on all of my Signal chats and text messages. And I send every message with the understanding that there's probably a Fed on the other end of the line reading it. Clearly, he was being monitored. The government has all of this information. He was already on the FBI's wanted list already. The FBI already knew who Ryan Ralph was. Yet, he was allowed to sit and camp out there in the bushes within feet of Donald Trump, having sent all of these messages and doing all of this, and they'll arrest you for memes. Are you effing kidding me? It's frying my brain right now. Are you kidding me? They'll arrest you for sending the wrong meme, but Ryan Ralph is able to get RPGs or try and pay for RPGs to shoot Trump's plane out of the sky, to kill Trump. Last thing I'll read, page 13. Ralph's request for anti-aircraft weapon shows his destructive intent. For the steps such as surveillance of Trump's Palm Beach International Airport, his active tracking of President Trump's plane, his stated intent to destroy the plane, and his Dear World letter, the jury will not be able to fully appreciate the purpose of this conduct without also knowing his intent to purchase the rocket launcher. Did the Ukrainian government, just put up the B-roll of Trump and Zelensky, did they know? That's my question. Of course, Ukraine is a super state that is being run by the CIA. Did they know about this assassination? Did they warn anyone? Did anybody try and do anything? Are there ever any cables that say, hey, this Ryan Ralph guy is trying to buy weapons of war to kill Trump? He says so in his own writings. I just read to you all of his text messages. Is this why Zelensky was treated like this in the White House? Is this the undergirding of this treatment? That President Trump and J.D. Vance were well aware of what the F was going on here. Is that it? They were well aware of what Zelensky was doing, that his government knew that they were trying to kill Trump with our own weapons, and they did nothing. Does that lead to some of the bitterness here that you saw, like the open aggression and resentment rightfully deserved in the White House from Zelensky? And oh, by the way, right when this filing comes out, Ukraine sends an emergency delegation to negotiate peace in Washington. They're doing it right now. Boy, it's almost like they knew. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Crazy, crazy times. That's the breaking news of the day. We have so much more to talk about on this. I have a feeling this is going to be a massive multi-day story. Whew. But ladies and gentlemen, we got to talk to some experts. I can keep asking as many questions as I want, but we gotta actually get in and talk with people who understand these things. Well, quite frankly, better than we do. Starting with an expert who knows American Sino relations better than anybody. Somebody who truly understands what's at stake with these tariff deals and truly understands the position that countries that hate us are in and desperation. And that would be Kyle Bass, ladies and gentlemen, who joins us live now. Kyle, what's up, man? It's an honor to have you on the program.
Can you hear me okay?
No, I cannot. We have a really bad connection here. Kyle, we're going to drop you off. Sorry. We're going to drop you off, and we're going to try and get the better connection because I can't hear you and we can't see you. Okay, let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to fix Kyle's connection and work with that. Luckily, we have locked in Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, retired Army Lieutenant Colonel with 4 combat deployments, senior fellow and military expert at Defense Priorities, who is locked and loaded and ready to rock. Let's go. Lieutenant Colonel, thank you so much for being on the program. I deeply appreciate your joining us today because these are complicated issues, and I don't portend to know exactly what's going on here with Ryan Routh seeking Ukrainian weapons. I know that Tucker's talked extensively about it, and I know a lot of people that I respect from a military perspective has said that the Ukrainians are selling our weapons and that they're doing so in order to try and reset some of the global order, and that they've been used in assassination attempts before. I didn't know that they were used or tried to be used in an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. It came as a shock to me this morning. The floor is yours. How prevalent is this?
Well, that's one of the biggest questions that we've had for years, is that the United States government has given so many weapons and so much ammunition to Ukraine with no tracking system. We have no idea where these things have been going. This has been reported since the first year of the war. This is not anything recent, and yet we continue to shovel this stuff in there without any kind of guardrails or assurances that it's only going for the purpose that we say. So naturally, it's going to show up in all other kinds of places, because Ukraine, before the war started, was the most corrupt country, genuinely, point blank, in all of Europe. And of course, when you throw in billions of dollars with no kind of constraints, it's only going to feed it and grow it on steroids, which is exactly what happened. So it is a shock to me that this happened, but it's not a surprise that it happened, because if you have a crazy person like this Roth fellow, there is no shortage of people willing to sell anything to anyone for some money. So it's not surprising that he tried to get it, but this just really is just another evidence of the incompetence of what the U.S. government had done, especially prior to Trump entering the picture, which worked against American national interest and never gave Ukraine a chance to win.
So this is something that I think a lot of Americans are going to want to know: who was responsible for this connection to the Ukrainian military? Is this something that happens with regularity? Are the weapons that we send to Ukraine being sold on the black market to assist in extrajudicial killings of the enemies of the state of Ukraine? Have you heard anything about that? Do you know anything about that practice?
I've certainly seen evidence of it. I haven't heard anything. I don't have any direct contacts in that. But that is one of the biggest questions I've got. How far up the chain in the Ukraine side was this knowledge? Because one of the things I was frankly worried about, even before we found out about these direct connections with Roth, was that there are many people in Ukraine that definitely did not want Donald Trump to win, don't like the direction he's going in now, because they only want more support. They don't want to end the war under any circumstances. And I have been concerned that some may be willing to take action on that. So I think it is vitally important that we find out exactly where these so-called associates were in this DOJ report. How high up the chain did they go? Because what you're showing on the screen there from that Oval Office exchange could be the least thing that Trump may want to do if this turns out to go up that high.
So when an American shipment of weapons goes to the battlefield, how would that process work to get an RPG or a Stinger missile back into the United States? Would it have to be smuggled through the cartels and then come into the United States, obviously illegally, and then get into the hands of a potential assassin? How would this process work?
Yeah, there is an entire network inside Ukraine of all kinds of black market operations. I literally was communicating with someone from Kiev just earlier this morning on a related topic about these networks that have been going on there, some to get people out. There's huge bribes that have to go to try to prevent guys from being grabbed off the streets, and $30,000 to $50,000 a pop, and to get people smuggled out. So it is easy to use those same networks to get something smuggled out instead of a person. And believe me, along these people here, they have no morals at all. They have no problem sending weapons, ammunition, or people, even trafficked. So if that's what's going to make them money.
So this is happening in Ukraine. We know this is happening in Ukraine. And Zelensky, I think, just purchased a platinum mine in Africa, which is totally what you do when you're at war and when you're impoverished and you need American dollars. How much of a fraud on the American taxpayer is the Ukraine war? What's your professional take, given the fact that you've served and I have not, sir?
I have been saying since before the war started, and every day since, that this war was always unwinnable on the Ukraine side. There was no rational path to success. The fact that our government kept going down this path and telling us for the first 3 years that it was winnable, that they were winning, that they're on the right path, all of these things that they said, which they said during the Afghan war as well. Oh, they just sent them over to here, but it was never true. So all we've been doing by sending billions of American dollars and European dollars or euros and all of these weapons, depleting our own forces, all it's doing is getting more Ukrainians killed in the predictable end to this war that's going to see Russia on the top side. So I think it is a tremendous fraud and a waste of resources, a waste of lives, and a tragedy for Ukraine that we supported something that could never work.
So now that we're seeing the fallout from all of this and the backlash and the potential murder of our president, soon to be president, what's the American public's response to this? I mean, these are shocking claims inside of this DOJ report. It's a 21-page report. There's so much more densely packed in there, but just this alone is enough to, I think, really reset people's minds on what's happening in Ukraine, where this man is smuggling ISIS fighters and fighters from Afghanistan and Iran into Ukraine with no-look visas. How the hell is that even off? How does that work exactly? And then as soon as he needs an illegal weapon to shoot Trump's plane out of the sky, he goes right to Ukraine and said, hey, give me, you lose these one a day. Just give me one. That is ripping the bark off that operation is repulsive to actually see it in writing there.
It was. It really is shocking, and I'm looking forward to getting into more detail of that. But just what we've seen so far, just what's enough of that is enough to I think really just take the goggles off and the blinders off and say, look, this guy Zelensky is not a democratic leader that he gets portrayed as all the time. I know they want to say he's a Churchillian figure, but when you look at his actual actions, and Tucker Carlson has just told this out many times, he is not a Democrat. He is hanging on to power beyond his term. He has silenced political parties, media, shut down even religious organizations he doesn't like, has control over all the people, etc., and is doing all these corruption things. That's not democratic, and that's not what we should be supporting in Ukraine. We should be trying to save the lives of the Ukrainian people despite their leader who is leading them to destruction. In my view, he is not a rational partner that Trump can work with because he can't make rational decisions, and I think Trump needs to give him an ultimatum or be willing to walk. I really do think we're there.
I think certainly we are there, and the wholesale loss of life in this war that was totally and completely unnecessary is a moral and a mortal evil, and that is why we are against this war, and we want it to end as quickly and as peacefully as possible. And an ugly peace is far better than a hot war that is slaughtering entire generations. We believe that in our bones. So, what do you believe, Lieutenant Colonel, if the Ukrainian government is found to have had foreknowledge of a Trump assassination attempt and not warned anybody, what will happen then?
Well, I think that we have to take some very strong concerted efforts, and I think that we need to insist that Zelensky step down and face whatever justice that his government requires. But I think we should insist upon it if that's proven. If it went all the way up to him and he had knowledge, you can't just turn a blind eye to this one. You can't just hit somebody on the wrist. I think this takes concerted effort, and we need to be taking action that's pretty harsh in that. I mean, anything less, I think, is going to be, encouraging other people to go down the same path.
Something that is, of course, very near and dear to your extensive and dignified and honored career in our American military and service is your love of this country, clearly provable. You want this country to be protected, and you want our borders to be secure, and you want us to be protected against enemies, foreign and domestic. The operation here, according to these documents, constantly used the cartels and the open border in order to facilitate human smuggling, in order to facilitate his escape route, in order to facilitate the weapons smuggling. It was all going to go through our southern border. That was left open. Now you're looking at it like, was this on purpose, actually? Like, was this the purpose of the open border? From a military perspective, how vulnerable were we given the cartel operations on the border and the inability to secure?
I certainly can't say whether it was intentional or whether just incompetence. I don't know. But the net is the same, is that there was, by the border being wide open, there was always the possibility that almost anyone could come in. I mean, obviously the problem with cartel or crime, people who want to come in and do crime to the country, that's always been a problem. But as a national security aspect, I often worry about the potential for some of our possible potential adversaries bringing people in to get them embedded into the U.S. countryside for the potential to act as sleeper cells someday. I know that sounds conspiratorial, but I mean, I'm just looking at it from a practical perspective. If you thought you were going to someday might go to war against the United States, it's rational and logical that you want to put somebody in to maybe cause damage inside the United States, since obviously it's so hard to get at from the oceans. And once a war is broken out, then people will be looking. But if you get somebody in there early, then they can become part of the fabric and no one would even notice them. So that is something that I have always worried about. And I'm grateful that we're finally doing something to close that off. But we've got some problems that are probably already in there.
So that's certainly something that has been verified, that we have members on the terrorist watch list that have come into this country and that they are obviously not here for cultural enrichment, let's just call it. Tell me about these weapons, the RPGs and the Stinger missiles. Could those weapons have brought down President Trump's jet?
Oh yeah, without question, in my view, especially if you get yourself set up like either just as the jet takes off or as it's coming in. If you're able to get in, in our country, it's not that hard to find some of these places. It's not like they're blocked off. If you have knowledge about where the plane's going to be, these things can be very effective at knocking them down. I mean, we saw that they are very effective against fighter jets and other combat aircraft that are in the zone right now. And if you get one of those, especially at short range, I'm sure that there's countermeasures on board Air Force One. I don't know all the details, but I can only imagine there is. But at that short range, when it's just about to land or just after it takes off, there may not be time for those countermeasures to work. So it is a real risk.
A real risk, certainly, if you have a Trump Force One that isn't Air Force One. The idea was to kill Trump before he had the full military package and to go after his plane, which, to my knowledge, doesn't have the type of sophisticated anti-aircraft capacity that an Air Force One would have. You have to just assume that. Yes?
Right. Yeah, that's a fair statement.
So you would be able to take that plane out even easier with a weapon like this. Have you ever seen weapons like? Have you seen these deployed in the field of battle? Do you have any experience with these style weapons?
I have not. No, I was from the Armored Force M1 tank groups or whatever, so I had access to that stuff. I personally never saw one of those, but certainly know very well their capability.
Okay, so it would have been a relatively easy shot if you were staking out the Palm Beach International Airport, which was amazing. It's actually amazing, Lieutenant Colonel. We landed there the other day, and we landed right next to the president's plane. You can see it there, and the entire plane had a barricade of dump trucks around it, which I thought was quite remarkable. So there's a physical wall and barricade, like a massive metal trucks surrounding the plane, probably because they knew this. Actually.
Frankly, I've been surprised. I'm gratefully surprised that nothing like this has even been attempted so far, or that some of these new drones, these attack drones, which are now ubiquitous all over the place. I worry about those things coming into play as well, but I'm grateful that hadn't happened so far.
Yeah, no kidding. That's got to be the reason for the indoor inauguration, but I'll let smarter people with more access to classified information opine on that. I just want to thank you very much for being on the program and for giving us these insights because, these are scary times, and there were multiple assassination attempts on the president's life, and I think we should take this kind of stuff seriously.
Absolutely.
And and maybe stop funding the people. Maybe stop funding the people that are part of it.
That'd be a good start.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Everybody, Daniel Davis is here on X. Okay, you should follow him. Also, he has a great YouTube channel that you should check out that dives very, very deep. It's called Deep Dive right there, and I see one of those Chinese drones right up there in your profile, sir.
Yes, it is.
So sending a message, and we just want to say thank you for being on the program.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So if you want to protect yourself, and if you want hedges that are, well, hopefully more protected than the ones at Trump's golf course, go to Fast Growing Trees, all right? And Fast Growing Trees is right now getting trees for my yard for the exact same reason, right? A little bit of privacy, right? Okay. They have 2 million happy customers in this country. They're the plants that your yard needs, everything, fruit trees, privacy trees, flowering trees, shrubs. They're working with my wife right now to get like trees that are going to sit in plants. We don't have a big backyard at all. It's like the size of the studio is teeny, right? But, you know, a good tree kind of makes the place pop and also gives you a little bit of privacy. Whatever plants you're interested in, Fast Growing Trees got you covered. It's a perfect fit for your space. Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to get your dream yard order online, and your plants are delivered directly to your door in just a few days. And their experts will work with you to make sure that your trees are thriving. Ladies and gentlemen, you can go today to fastgrowingtrees.com for more details. Use the code Benny and you'll get 15% off your order. Fastgrowingtrees.com using the code Benny at checkout. Go do it today, and yeah, make sure that you are protected, right? Okay. Right. Goodness gracious, what a mess today. This filing from the DOJ is just absolutely wild, ladies and gentlemen. There's only one man in Congress who has, let's just say, the balls to approach a topic like this with the temerity that is required, the gunpowder in your gut, the grit in your teeth, and you know that is Tim Burchett. Let's go. Gunpowder and grit, old guts and glory. That's what we call you, Tim.
I don't know about all that. I'd settle for just incredibly good looking and freakishly high IQ. But besides that, you know, I'll take it.
You do keep pulling them over on CNN. You do keep causing like absolute panic on that network, and they love you. I know how this works, Congressman. They keep bringing you back. Normally they wouldn't do this. They keep bringing you back on because they need the ratings, and they know that we're going to share the clips, and they know that it's going to get a CNN clip like shared constantly to bring you on. So you're actually doing CNN's business for them, Congressman. You ever thought about that?
No, not really. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know they get me on there mainly because I'm the only conservative that'll go on there. But you know, I guess someday I'll tell my counselor, you know, that it was why I am the way I am because of CNN. I guess at $300 an hour. So, but until then, I'll just talk to my wife and daughter about it and my donkeys.
The donkeys are probably a much better therapist than most of the therapists working now. Okay, so if you were colluding with CNN to increase their ratings, that would be called, obviously, operating and colluding with the enemy. This is what this DOJ filing says about Ryan Routh. It says that Ryan Routh was working with Ukraine in order to procure weapons from the battlefield to kill Trump, including rocket-propelled grenades or stingers, and that he was well on his way to getting these weapons from the battlefield to the Trump golf course or to the airport in Palm Beach to shoot down President Trump's plane. In essence, using the weapons that we all paid for to go fight a war that none of us want to keep going on, to go kill our president. This is possibly the biggest insult I've ever seen to the American people. Your take, Congressman.
$250 billion unchecked. President of Ukraine, what's his name, Zelensky, give him $250 billion. He still don't buy a suit. He needs to go to Knoxville, John H. Daniel. I could hook him up and get him a good suit. But the truth is that he said they can't account for over half the money. And I want you to look at history. When JFK was taken out, the reality is that there's probably a collusion among different departments. When that clown was on the roof taking a shot at our president, they could not hose that roof off fast enough. They cremated his body, and it's just gone away. I mean, this deep state, this deep sewer that's Washington, D.C., I think history's repeating itself. There is no way in hell this guy should have ever been able to get anywhere near this stuff if there wasn't a deep state and there wasn't some collusion. And America needs to wake up. We need to wake up when we send 12% of the people go to vote, when preachers quit preaching the gospel and everybody's worried about offending some dude in a dress. This is what we get. This is what we get. And this is the mentality of Washington, D.C. They're an arrogant bunch. They play God. They think they are God until they will meet him one day. And they will be, I believe, unpleasantly surprised at the results of that. And I think that we have got to keep focused on this. We have got to keep pushing the envelope on these issues. This crazy debt we're in, you got to wonder, why does the left push that? It's more control. It's more of them, this type of mentality. And anybody that rocks that boat is expendable. And to them, Donald J. Trump is expendable, and they would like to expend with him. And that is very unfortunate.
You're on multiple powerful committees that have the right to subpoena and ask big questions. Clearly, the DOJ knows who in the Ukrainian military apparatus Ryan Ralph was working with to get American-provided RPGs into his hands so he could kill the president, shoot his plane out of the sky. And we would have paid for it. What are the consequences if it is brought to light that the Ukrainian government knew of the assassination attempt against President Trump and did nothing about it?
I would think that, I mean, of course, I go back to what Americans are involved in, and that's treason. That is a hangable offense, and I would think that needed to be carried out. And I suspect that trail will go cold very quick, Benny. I suspect that whoever's involved in it at the U.S. side would disappear or commit suicide by shooting themselves in the back of the head 3 times. And so I suspect that's where we're at. I would suspect there'll be a sacrificial lamb somewhere. There'll be some low-level person that had nothing to do with it, and that the others will ride off into the sunset somewhere. I guarantee you no one will be held accountable for this.
This is a very fascinating ripping of the bark off of how this criminal underbelly operated. And Ryan Ralph was either trying to get weapons or Afghan fighters or smuggle himself out of the country through our open border. The open border and the cartels were working with Ralph in order to facilitate his leaving the country after killing Trump, the weapons smuggling into the country, the smuggling of ISIS fighters into the country to kill Trump with him. It is like everything that you said on our program a year ago that would get you written up as a cuckoo pants or a crackpot has now come true in this DOJ document.
Yeah, and I was on the phone with the former president of Afghanistan about, several weeks ago. And he told me, he said, Tim, you need to be careful. He said, there's 500 to 1,000 members that we know of the Taliban in your country. And I was like, how did they get here? And he said, southern border. They just walked in. And so if we know that, and we don't know where they are, that should scare the hell out of America. And we're not doing anything about it. Because I've got the bill to defund the Taliban, 40 million a week we know of. I've got a State Department document somewhere on my desk showing that it's $5 billion that we think we've given to them. And yet you just follow the money. And Trump upset their money trail. Today Marjorie Taylor Greene, our committee, the DOJ subcommittee, we're meeting in a building that's empty, downtown Washington, D.C., fully rented or paid for by the taxpayers. It ought to be sold. And you can duplicate that all over the country. And then I asked if any of it was owned, any of these properties were owned or rented or, facilitated by a member of Congress or their families. And the guy just flippantly said, sure, I'm sure there are. And I was, what the hell? Excuse my language. There's another dollar in the swear jar. I'm broke, so it's going to be all IOUs. So no, but we've got some real problems. And this bunch wants to destroy these anarchists because they want control. I remember I asked my daddy one time when I was a little boy, I said, why do all these Hollywood people want to be communists, Daddy? I mean, they're going to be standing in line with the food lines. No, because they'll be the ones that'll be in the front of the line. They'll be riding around in the limos. They'll always be taken care of. You and I will be in the food line. And their control, they want to equalize everything. And this is just a manifestation of all that. And it's the corruption, it's the underbelly of Washington, D.C. you're right. They laughed at me and you when we talked about the honeypots. And then what came out the next week? There was a prostitution ring, Chinese prostitution ring. And they said, who are their client lists? They said, government contractors, which should scare the daylights out of you because that means inside information, government officials, and well-to-do members of the Washington community. And that next week, that story disappeared. The black book's gone. Has gone quicker than Epstein's Island. So I think America needs to wake up and quit putting your faith in one party. You better start asking your individual legislators and say, what are you doing? Are you making any public statements on it? Are you proposing any legislation? Have you signed on any legislation? You know, we saw how corrupt NPR was last week. And I asked, because I was I don't know what happened. I was in a brain haze or something. And I was listening and I said, well, they said, what is your definition of propaganda? And they said, Lee Greenwood singing God Bless the USA. And, you know, and this is what your tax dollars are going for. And yet this Congress does not have, where the hell's the bill? Where's the bill to defund all this stuff? Where are we with this investigation on this treasonous act? Obviously the money's being filtered back. I mean, this is it just drives me crazy, Benny. And we've got to do better as a country, or we're going to lose this country. We are going to lose everything my daddy fought and killed people for, and my mama's brother's buried over in Europe for. And I don't say that flippantly or any other way. Just it's the truth. And they want to silence you. They want to silence me. And currently they're not able to do that.
You're on the Doge subcommittee. You just said that there might be some corruption inside of the government rentals of empty buildings, members of Congress owning those buildings, outright corruption. The head of Doge, Elon Musk, saying today to Chuck Schumer, I'm starting to think that you're getting a piece of the action with all the government fraud. That couldn't possibly be true, could it? Congressman, you must know something about this. Has Elon discovered something about Chuck Schumer? His family?
I'd say he's probably discovered something about everybody. Elon's got that paper trail, and he told us in the meeting, in our little private meeting, there's a paper trail and it's going back to Washington, D.C. And dadgummit, somebody better be let out of one of these buildings in handcuffs, because this is real. This is going on. We've seen it all over. We see it in California with some of the elected officials out there. It's been documented in the past, and nobody's willing to say anything about it or do anything about it. They get reelected and they get put right back in leadership. And that's why it's so important to have a Justice Department that's not weaponized against the people, but is weaponized against corruption. And we've currently got that. We've just got to hold on to it. And I don't know if we've got the guts or the willpower to do it, because Congress is gutless, Benny. Congress is gutless. Every day we ought to be demanding that these bills move forward, and nobody's doing it. Nobody. I mean, a few of us are, but until these committee chairmen move forward with this stuff and we get out of being compromised, I would suggest to you that we will continue on this downhill slide.
We've got a lot of compromise, a lot of Chinese hooks into members of Congress.
They're in our military installations. They're like, oh, they're flying satellites over. They don't need to fly satellites over. They're running the commissaries. They have access to people's credit cards, social security numbers, all their information. You do not think that the Chinese are making files every day on this stuff. This is just, and what the hell? Why are we letting them in these places? Why are we letting them buy property? They're not going to take it from us, Benny. We're just giving it to them. And how we give it to them is greed. And that's why they're so angry about these tariffs, because Congress is so greedy. We have been bought and sold by lobbyists and the national chambers of commerce. They're coming out now against the tariffs. Well, of course they are. They're in bed with the Chinese. They like slave labor overseas. They don't like the fact that 50%, they love the fact that 50% of America is living paycheck to paycheck, and the other half is doing fairly well. That's just wrong, Benny. And it's wrong because Congress sold them out. Lock, stock, and barrel. Over the course of several years, that's what's happened. That's why China's doing what they're doing. That's why this guy is getting by with what he got by Ukraine almost being able to take out our president because of greed. The profit motive. I was on CNN and they said, well, Congressman, 60% of the money is being spent back in our country. So it justifies killing people because we're getting, our missile defense companies are getting fat, and their lobbyists are contributing heavily to congressmen and senators' campaigns. I mean, is that what they just basically just admitted that.
What's your word on the tariffs? China seems to be the intended target here. Many other countries coming to heel. Stock market doing great this morning. Not that we follow those kind of things day to day or like fetishize over them, but it is a good sign President Trump's policy is working. China does seem to be the intended target here, Congressman. Yet, Mitch McConnell over in the Senate has made a fortune in China. We looked it up. I mean, that guy has pretty alarming Chinese connections. He voted against the tariffs. He voted to make sure that Donald Trump didn't have the power to tariff China. It seems a massive conflict of interest. It seems a massive foreign conflict of interest. And I'm kind of sick of that in my elected representatives. Like, you should only have an allegiance to this country.
Yeah, my $12,000 portfolio, I think it's down to about 10,000 now. Maybe it went back up today. I don't check it every day. I don't like getting greedy. But yeah, I mean, you don't think these guys are voting checkbooks? They're voting their dadgum checkbooks, Benny. Hey, have you been working out, man? You got some guns on you.
Well, we regularly do hits, and you show me the guns in your office. And we have guns in our office, and we want more guns. But yeah, I mean, I have sons. So I have 2 sons, and I want to be able to, like wrestle.
No, I'm talking about these guns, man. Those guns.
I want to be able to wrestle with my sons for as long as possible. I'm trying to extend that. Like, my sons will eventually be able to kick my ass. So I'm trying to extend that delta as far as I can get it, right? When will it happen? Will it be when I'm 50, right? When will it happen? And I think every father thinks about these kind of things. And
yeah.
So, I better get in shape now.
My daughter brought home this muscular boyfriend. I have to just threaten him that I can beat his ass, but I know I probably couldn't. So
that's where the guns come in.
I didn't even have to say it, but you knew it.
All right.
Benny, thank you, brother. You're the man.
Congressman, thank you.
I literally sprinted from the Doge committee. It's like these Yankees got this place freezing up here. It's in the 30s. So I didn't take my jacket off. But just to get up here with you, brother. Thank you for what you do. We're gonna start investigating that heavy. I'm gonna put it out to my folks and find out what the heck is going on with that money that Ukraine.
We love that.
That just drives me crazy.
We're paying for the assassination of our own president. It's like, it's great. It's like we've seen this movie before, man. You brought up the Kennedy assassination. Tim Burchett, everybody, clearly everybody follow. And we also have an emoji in the chat, the dadgum emoji, which is in honor of Tim Burchett.
Dadgum.
And can we just get one dadgum from you?
Dadgum it.
Okay.
We're putting it on my swag in my swag store or whatever it is. I don't know, whatever the young people call it. I think we're putting it on a hat or something. So we've had a lot of requests for that.
Yeah, Godspeed and God bless you, Congressman.
See you, Benny. Thanks, brother. Love you, buddy. Take care of them kids.
All right. Let me tell you. We have an HR company at this at our little humble operation here. It's called Bamboo HR. Put it up on the screen. They would probably not allow us to hire Tim Burchett. They'd probably look through Tim Burchett's commentary on this program and would say, you're not allowed to hire that guy. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know exactly. I mean, I haven't asked. But I'd love to hire Tim Burchett. Ladies and gentlemen, if building businesses are your passion, and if operating these businesses are your passion, then I cannot encourage you enough to go to Bamboo HR. Bamboo HR takes the messy business of HR, like all of the things that like distract you away from like the primary objective of the revenue growth of your business, and makes it so easy timeless and seamless and all-in-one solution to get the time back so that you can keep operating your business and keep growing your business. Bamboo HR is a powerful, flexible, all-in-one HR solution for your growing business to stop spending countless hours on payroll, time tracking, benefits, performance management, what Tim Burchett may or may not have said on the stream. Bamboo HR is a robust hiring and onboarding tools, streamlining the process. We are hiring right now. We've been very, very excited about our growing team here. And, well, it's an honor, quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, to have you part of it. Over 34,000 companies trust Bamboo HR because of their integrated system that is designed to handle your current and upcoming HR needs. I cannot recommend them enough. Check them out for yourself. Free demo at bamboohr.com/free demo. bamboohr.com/free demo. That's bamboohr.com/free demo. HR is hard. Bamboo HR is easy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it sounds like we got some breaking news. Let's freaking go with our breaking news stinger. Come on, Klein, let's rock! The Supreme Court has decided to nuke a judge, once again, a far left-wing activist judge, that ordered Trump to reinstate all the workers that he has fired. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's read here. And it goes very nicely along with a brand new ruling from last night that we were planning on covering. Too much breaking news in one short moment. The Supreme Court on Tuesday halted federal judge's ruling requiring several federal agencies to reinstate 16,000 workers the Trump administration has sought to fire. The decision to grant the administration's request means the federal government does not have to take steps to bring back these workers who were laid off. Wow. This is a judge in California. Oh, wow. Justices Sonia Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson, two of the court's liberal justices, noted that they dissented from the unsigned decision. The order indicated that some nonprofit groups that sued may not have legal standing to press their claims. Further complicating matters, a judge in Maryland issued a similar ruling that applies to the same agencies at issue in the California case as well as others. And that decision, which requires affected employees in 19 states and the District of Columbia to be kept on paid administrative leaves. The affected agencies in California case, Department of Veterans Affairs, Defense, Energy, Interior, Agriculture, and Treasury. The Trump administration, in its initiative spearheaded by Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency, has sought dramatic decrease in the number of federal employees, sparking fierce legal fights. Why? Wait, why exactly? You're getting fired. That sucks. I've been fired. No fun. No fun. But it happens to every successful person. It happens to all of us. This is just how it goes. If a company that you're working for fires you, what kind of a person sues the company to be brought back? Like, in what universe do you do that? Like, what kind of the company's already said you're not a valuable employee. Go do something else. And you're going to go to the Supreme Court to beg for your job back? Don't make no sense to me. I don't get it. Yeah, I fired. It wasn't fun. You kick a rock, you hit the bricks, and you go build something else. You go do something else. What a bunch of whiny little babies. What a bunch of entitled and privileged entitled scum. I don't understand. Like, what kind of a life do you think you're going to have when the judge says you cannot fire federal workers? Yeah, you can. It's called the vesting clause. It's in Article 2 of the Constitution. Members of Congress are elected on a state or district level, whether you're a senator or a congressman. Judges are appointed. Only one man is vested with the power of an entire article of the Constitution and is nationally elected. In this election, right here, that's the election that brought us Trump. All 7 swing states went Trump. The popular vote went Trump. And then we vested Trump when he was sworn into office with awesome powers to run our federal government. The whole of the federal government the executive branch, is vested in him. Not in a judge, not in some unelected judge in California or Maryland or District of Columbia, not in these asshats that if they want to run for president, go run for president. You want this power? Go run for president. Likewise, Donald Trump is not allowed to wear a robe one day to the Oval Office, get himself a gavel, a cheap gavel like I have here in the studio, and to decide, like, what's the law. Donald Trump isn't allowed to do that. Donald Trump can't go write laws. That's Congress's job. Or dictate the spending, the budgetary is in Congress. That's Article 1 of the Constitution. Now, that's been ceded to the executive. It's a totally different conversation. But either way, like, Trump doesn't have the right to go intervene into the judiciary, meaning he goes and plays judge, and the judges don't have a right to go play president. And these people who work in the federal government serve literally, when you swear in, at the pleasure of the president. That's what they say. I serve at the pleasure of the president because you're part of the executive branch, because of the vesting clause, because that's how it works. It's insane, but a good decision. Okay, and there's another great decision last night, the Alien Enemies Act. The Alien Enemies Act from 1798. Oh man, do we have that amazing Tom Homan clip on this? Oh, an old law? Give me that. That's amazing. Yeah, okay. Oh, look, here. ALX at the top of the article. Here we go. Scroll down. Is ALX's tweet embedded in the article. Boom. We everywhere. Really? Oh, okay. You got the blocker on? Okay. Well, that's how it works. Anyway, guys, this is the Breitbart article. ALX's tweet is used here to announce a massive victory for President Trump. For the outlet, in a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court justices found that the migrants had improperly challenged their deportations in Washington, D.C. They should have challenged them in Texas, where they were being held. Oh, wow. Would you look at that? So they had improper venue. This is called venue shopping. The ACLU went and venue shopped to Judge Boasberg, to the far left wing. 98% voted for Kamala Harris, D.C. Circuit Court, to get this ruling. Judge shopping and circuit shopping is illegal. And the Supreme Court destroyed Judge Boasberg here, ripped the case from him, and said, okay, go try this in Texas. Go on down to South Texas and find yourself a judge. Yeah, good luck with that. So that's what they said, and this was a huge victory. Now, why is it a 5-4 decision when we have a 6-3 court? Well, ladies and gentlemen, here's the image. You have Ketanji Brown Jackson. You have Elena Kagan. Amy Coney Barrett siding with the liberals. Sonia Sotomayor. It looks like a literal faculty, like the DEI faculty at your local liberal arts college is what it looks like. We shared the photo last night. Somebody grab it. It's on our X account, please. This is Amy Coney Barrett is a real problem. Amy Commie Barrett is what some users on the internet are calling her. I am sickened about her. We didn't have time today, but I want to have a full conversation with Mike Davis about this week. What the hell is going on with her? Donald Trump stuck his neck out, used all of his political capital to get her into the Ruth Bader Ginsburg seat at the very end of his presidency. Donald Trump said so many nice things about her, advocated for her, fought for her, did all these lavish and wonderful events where he talked about how great she is. And then she has betrayed him time and time and time again on the court. There are some warning signs. There are definitely some warning signs about Amy Coney Barrett. But it is a despicable thing that this has happened again. There's this Sandra Day O'Connor was this Ronald Reagan appointee to the court. And she was supposed to be this rock-ribbed conservative. And then they all go left. They all swing left. What happened yesterday was that 5 justices, who are men, voted in favor of the law, which is that the president has the right to deport criminal aliens, and 4 women voted their feelings. They don't like it. Amy Coney Barrett, she doesn't like it. It hurts their feelings. So Amy Coney Barrett, who I think has like 7 kids, 2 of them are adopted from Haiti, if I'm remembering this correctly. She has 7 kids. Amy Coney Barrett is voting in favor of the terrorists who murder American children and put her children's lives at risk and my children's lives at risk. She is a repulsive lizard. You can see it in this clip. You see it. Look at the way that she looks at Trump. Sickening. Sickening. So ungrateful. So despicable. Spitting in the face of the Constitution, our movement, of the people who fought to get her on the Supreme Court. She didn't deserve to be on the Supreme Court. I disown her. I disown it. I disavow. I worked very hard to get her elected. We did a lot of, pushing for her on this seat. We thought this would swing the court to just rational constitutionalism for the rest of my life. And now we get sabotaged by Amy Coney Barrett. Amy Coney Barrett, who voted with the DEI faculty, in order to bring terrorists back to America. That was what they were voting on. They were voting on an order by the judge to turn the planes around and bring terrorists back to America. Every deportation was supposed to go through Judge Boasberg. Judge Boasberg was going to sit there as president. They might as well have just put a little presidential seal on the end of his gavel, because he was just essentially gifting himself the presidential powers. Amy Coney Barrett. Now, of course, the 3 liberal justices voted, feelings for the gang members. Amy Coney Barrett voted to bring in terrorists that threaten her children, her 7 children, and their lives, to bring the terrorists back to America so that we could have a Laken Riley 2.0. What a sick witch. Everybody pray for Amy Coney Barrett, man. Something's going wrong with her. Something's gone horribly, horribly wrong. It's sickening. It's disgusting to watch. There's nothing worse in this life than betrayal. There's nothing worse in this life than the ingratitude for the people who brought you and made you. And this is a spitting in the face to the movement that picked her and said that she was going to be good. So I'm pretty angry about all of this. Luckily, the decision still stands. Still win. Chief Justice Roberts, actually, leading the dissent. Chief Justice Roberts blocks judge's order, return of illegal criminal aliens. These are really great reactions here. I love Stephen Miller on this. Stephen Miller is the author of these laws. The author of the implementation of the Alien Enemies Act, which has been used multiple times throughout American history and in modern history, in wartime, to get bad people out of our country. Here we go.
This was a huge, a monumental victory for President Trump. The biggest legal win of this administration so far. A total embarrassment for crazy Judge Boasberg, who's been trying to force this president to bring foreign alien terrorists back onto American soil, trying to turn our planes around, trying to empty prisons in foreign countries and bring them back to our soil. This is a monumental, colossal victory for the rule of law, for the Constitution, for our founding generation, John Adams, who signed this law into effect in 1798, and for President Trump in fulfilling his mandate and campaign pledge. What does this mean for you and your family watching at home tonight? It means that the Department of Justice, FBI, DEA, ATF, the U.S. Marshal Service, Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement now have maximum authority to find and remove illegal alien gang members from Venezuela that have been responsible for so much misery in this country, for the torture and murder of Jocelyn Ungary, for the brutal slaying of Laken Riley. Those monsters can now be hunted down and expelled from this country with speed, force, and efficiency. This is a great day for America, Sean.
Rings like a bell, man. So sharp. Stephen Miller is the most effective Trump administration official in either term. He is the author of everything you liked about Trump term 1 And he now has total dominance over this White House as the deputy chief of staff. Speaking of total dominance, here's Tom Homan being asked about the Alien Enemies Act and how mean it is and how old the law is.
You say to those who claim you're using a 200-year-old law to circumvent due process?
An old law? Not as old as the Constitution. We still pay attention to that, don't we?
But some would say this is...
How many more terrorists do you plan on deporting to El Salvador?
Where's the rap horn? Give me the rap horn. Come on. God, we should have sent that clip to Jerry, man. Carolyn Levitt with her own mic drop here on the Alien Enemies Act. Let's freaking go.
This is a massive legal victory, Jesse, a massive victory for law and order and for our constitutional republic and the sovereignty of the United States of America. We called on the Supreme Court to rein in these activist judges like Judge Boasberg, who was completely out of line in trying to say that the president didn't have the executive authority to deport foreign terrorists off of our soil. We have always maintained the position at the White House that the president was well within his constitutional authority to do so. And this decision proves that President Trump and our administration have always been right from the beginning. He will continue to utilize the Alien Enemies Act to remove foreign terrorists and Tren de Aragua members, vicious gang members from American communities. And because of this ruling, the United States of America is a much safer place. Our team will get to work tomorrow to deport these heinous, violent foreign terrorists from our neighborhoods.
Hell yeah. Man, it's an energy shift. Can you feel it? Everybody can feel it, right? It's an energy shift. It's a very, very good thing. They were always going to attack. They were always going to scream. The enemy doesn't like losing. It's a spiritual war, clearly. You can see that in the Ryan Ralph documents. And it's the banality of evil. Oh, okay, American taxpayers. Let's take the weapons that American taxpayers paid for, smuggle them away from the battlefield to go kill their president. That was what it's in black and white. These are the kind of filings we've been waiting for, actually, on Matthew Thomas Crooks. Where the hell are those filings? Not trying to go on another rant here, but where the hell are those filings? Like, when do we find out these details, like the text messages and who he was communicating with? When do we find that out about Matthew Thomas Crooks? He actually hit Trump with a bullet. Trump caught a bullet because of that guy. To my understanding, ALX, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan Ralph didn't actually get shots off. He was planning on it. This entire document shows his intent to murder Trump in any way he possibly can. With a bomb, with a Stinger missile, blow up his plane, shoot him in the head. But to my understanding, ALX, he didn't actually fire a shot. Okay, all right. But there is a dude who fired a shot and Trump caught a bullet because of him. And we know nothing. Like, nothing. Nothing. FBI cremates his body, power washes the roof. We're the only show that went up on the roof and actually sat in his blood stain to show you where he was, what his vision was. Here it is. Here's the FBI just a day afterwards. Just don't worry about it. Nothing to see here. Not like we should figure out what, if he was on drugs, if he was being controlled, what he had in his system, what he had in his body, what he had on his phone. Is that the official response, that, like, we don't know what's on his phone anymore? Is that, like, the official response? It's the only phone in history the government can't hack. Oh, okay, got it. The government will arrest me for the wrong meme, but they can't hack the, like, guy who killed people at the Trump rally and then hit Trump in the head with a bullet. Got it. Okay. Pretty scary stuff, man. You're seeing kind of the connections there. It's almost like it's almost like there's a tie that binds. It's almost like there's something happening, right? Okay. Let's do some super chats, shall we? Super chats. We're working on a stinger. I don't know why this is so hard. We're getting a stinger for our super chats, okay? We're doing it today. We're just like, this is what's great when you own the company. You just say, we're doing it today. We're going to make the stinger today. We're going to do a big super chat stinger. It'll be great. It'll have your chats on it, I think. Pop, 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 pop. It'll be like that. Maybe it'll be me firing an RPG, right? And it's like, you shoot the super chats right in the screen. Some gallows humor there. Morning, y'all. Good morning. Charlie. They love Charlie. They love Charlie. Good morning. Do y'all even like tater tot casserole? Yeah, dude, I'm from the Midwest. What are you even talking about? Of course. We get raised on tater tot casserole. They're seriously pushing Trump to remove himself and to let Putin do what he does. Good morning. Uh-oh. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but I do agree with this one. I love blessings. ALX, are you having problems with X? ALX, answer in the chat. Like, ALX, are you having problems with X? We'll get you a direct answer from ALX. We have a contact with him. We actually know this guy. He says no. Okay. Trump 2028, please run again. Sounds like they're planning on it. Grab me that clip from Pam Bondi, please, over the weekend. Pam Bondi said, yeah, we're going to do that. It's like crazy. No, why are we the only people that catch this? Are we the only people that are like paying attention? This is what you come to the show for. We are, I don't ever claim, I will never claim to you to be the highest IQ. I did not go to an Ivy League college. There are many people who do shows on the right that will happily box you about the ear until your ears bleed, telling you how smart they are and what prominent left-wing colleges they went to. I didn't. I went to community college in the middle of a cornfield. But I will promise you this. We are noticers professionally. We notice things. Pattern recognition is its own kind of art form. And we're noticing these things like Pam Bondi, for instance. On Trump running again, Pam Bondi says, yeah, probably that's going to happen. Why are we the only people that notice this kind of stuff? Here she is on Fox.
There's chatter about President Trump seeking a third term. He has said, quote, there are methods. Is this just one of his epic trolls? Or does he or do you believe there is a method short of amending the Constitution by which he could seek a third term?
President Trump has served one full term. He's on his second full term. He's a very smart man, and I wish we could have him for 20 years as our president, but I think he's going to be finished probably after this term.
Probably.
Well, the Constitution, we'd have to look at the Constitution.
It would be a heavy lift, and whether you get 2/3 of the Senate and the House to go along with you, but is the concession that that's really the only way to do it?
It'd be a heavy lift.
Okay, Attorney General, we thank you for your time. We hope you'll
Probably he's going to run again. That's what she said. Why are we the only ones who catch that? Now, Shannon Bream says you have to do this big amendment to the Constitution. You actually don't. Donald Trump can just run for vice president with J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance could resign and then Donald Trump becomes president. That is a loophole. Nobody's explained how that loophole is unconstitutional. The 22nd Amendment says that no one can be elected twice as president. So we'll see. We'll see, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. From the Menk one. United States needs to lead in Bitcoin, digital gold, long-term storage, digital silver, CAS, everyday transactions. Beautiful country of ours will prosper forever. I love the crypto community. I don't pretend to be an expert in crypto at all, but I know the Trump family's going hard at the crypto community, and that Donald Trump wants to make America the crypto capital of the world. And I think that the abuses and the attacking of the crypto community is unbelievably evil. And there's great breaking news today that the DOJ has shut down their is it called like a crypto crimes unit, right? ALX. And they shut it down today. Effectively, this was like to target and to hunt down people that used crypto. So it's kind of my stance on it, right? Maximum freedom. I sent you a message. I have info on sex trafficking, extortion, numbers, names, treating prostitution. I called answer machine. I called Fabian and got an answer machine. Please help. Okay. Well, if you have that kind of information, I would encourage you to go to the authorities, actually. Right? Yes. So we obviously stand against all of that. Here we go. They're mad because they missed him in Butler. That is absolutely the truth. Okay, here we go. I think Trump is boss mode enough to look at them and say, try it, betch. Kind of like that. There's like a scene in Breaking Bad, actually, where they do this, right? Where Gustavo comes walking out in the middle of the field and they can't hit him. So that is exactly what Donald Trump's doing right now. Let's see. Check in next week for another Benny Johnson therapy session with Tim Burchett. This government has beaten him down and doesn't give up. Tim Burchett is just a favorite of the show. We love him. Thank you, Prodigy Trading, for sending it in. Here we go. Christ is King. We will see the biggest point-wise stock crash in the history this week into next week. A prophecy from the Holy Spirit. God bless. Stay strong. I don't know what to say about that, but I can tell you that all the experts have been wrong about their predictions of the stock market. It seems like things are going very, very well for the president as he renegotiates massive trade deals. So I certainly, I'm not going to live or die by the stock market, and nor am I going to tell you that money is the most important thing in life. That somehow you should live for money. Go read your New Testament, man, and you'll see my take on people who do that. Okay, we try our best at this show to make sure that that's not like our number one driving motivator, and that you don't align your life around that. We try very hard to integrate family, community, and actual purpose into what we're doing. You'll live a very bad life, and you'll have a very bad end if money is all you. Maybe you've heard of it. There's something called A Christmas Carol. It's maybe you've heard of it. It's you can see kind of the entire thing is written about a guy who spent his whole life chasing after money and abandoned love and a family and treated everyone like garbage, and all he cared about was money, and he had a miserable end, right? And he changed his ways. So anyway, I'm not sure I'm not throwing money out of my window on Christmas morning telling people to go buy a Christmas goose, but if the circumstance arrives, I'm happy to do it. Okay. Benny, you're a cool guy, and I think snoring is cool. Snore. I don't know. You're going to have to ask my wife. I don't think I snore that bad. But, okay. Here we go. Last one. We'll do, Benny. Please ask Candace about the drugs they used to try MK Kanye. Maybe that's what TMC was on. Yeah, Thomas Matthew Crooks. Yeah, that's right. There was crazy amounts of prescription pills that were being given to Kanye, Michael Jackson, and many people speculate this was for mind control, for controlling these artists, and eventually for the killing of these artists. So, yes, that would be great. Have we booked? We had booked Candace, but Candace is very pregnant right now, so I'm not sure she's doing any media at this point. I'm not sure she's doing a bunch of new stuff. But we were supposed to book Brandon Tatum last week, so let's make sure that we follow through on that. Thank you, Benny and crew. Thank you, S. Joe. Okay. Word up. Verse of the day. Let's freaking go. Verse of the day from Isaiah 54:17. Good Old Testament. No weapon forged against you shall prevail. You will refute every tongue that accuses you. It's a heritage of the servants of the Lord. This is their vindication from me. No weapon forged against you shall prevail. You will refute the tongues that accuse you. I love it. Be a servant of the Lord. Make sure that you have power. The same power that raised Christ from the dead lives within you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, should give you confidence marching into your day. It's your boy Benny. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. See ya.
Do you guys got any weapons I can use on the bad orange man?
These are not the rocket launchers you are looking for.
I will just have to find something else.
Truth gon' be faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salt in all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.